Hey, I'm Brett Pike, and it's time to talk homeschool. And today we're going to talk specifically about establishing the culture of reading, a couple of tricks you could implement in your home to establish that culture, and how to respond if your child develops an aversive relationship with reading, something that so many parents are fearful of, and so many parents don't know what to do when their child develops that aversive relationship. So let's start with early childhood and establishing the culture of reading, which for me, I started reading every day with my son from the time he was about 6 months of age. And I did it right before bed, and I did that for a reason. The first was to establish the culture that reading is something we do every day. We are active readers. We read about things that we are interested in, and reading is fun. And the second, because children hate going to bed. So if you read with them every night before bed, they'll always want to do more reading. Now, here's the neat little trick that you can do. I do it all the time, and it really is effective at establishing the culture of loving to read, which is whenever we get to the really good parts of the book, I stop and say, you know what, I think it's time to go to bed. Or should we read a little bit more? And what does my child say? Of course, your child will always want to read more. And now you're having them not only want to read more, but verbalize that out loud. It is establishing the culture. It's planting a seed in their subconscious mind. And it's a great way to establish that reading is something that we love to do. But let's say you just pulled your child out of public school and they've developed an aversive relationship with reading. And this happens for a variety of reasons in public schools. And they're kind of obvious, and it's a little ridiculous how the schools are structured. But what you have is children who fall behind in their reading. And rather than go at their pace, the school forces them to go ahead because they have standardized testing and they have material that they have to cover. And the children don't want to do it anymore. They get demoralized. And then they read at a first grade level and the school's making them read second or third grade material, and they feel like they're bad at it. And then to make matters worse, and this really is the worst, when a child's not a confident reader and they say, oh, well, you have to read out loud in front of your classmates. And then they wonder why the child acts out. Well, who wants to be embarrassed like that? No, public school. When a child falls behind in their reading, the best response is not to push forward, but to take a step back. And what I would recommend to any parent who finds themselves in this situation is to make reading fun. Allow them to pick any literature that they want to read about, and then read about it every night before bed, when you wake up in the morning, and read out loud as a family together. And if you do that, it's kind of like a weightlifter lifting weights, where the more they do it, the stronger they will become. Now, don't worry if the material they're reading is first grade material and they're in third grade. You have to go at the pace of the child. If their reading ability is a first grade level, you don't give them third grade material. That's completely ridiculous. You allow your child to progress at a pace that is natural to them. And if you do that over time, they will become very capable readers. And in doing that, you are staying in alignment with the number one goal in early childhood reading. And I cannot stress this enough. The number one goal in early childhood reading is to establish the love of reading. And anything that falls short of that goal is not the right way to go about it, because I don't just want a third grader that reads at a third grade level. I want a 10th grader that's a willing reader, that's excited to do it, that doesn't just read Spark Notes like I did when I was in public school and what all the public school students do today. I want an 18-year-old who is a willing reader. I want a 30-year-old who is a willing reader. I want a 40-year-old that reads for fun. And that starts at a very young age by establishing the culture that we love to read. And as far as parents who worry about their children falling behind in other subject area, right? Because they say, well, if my child's not reading, how can they do the science we want them to do or the history we want them to do? Well, you supplement with books on tape, you supplement with Amazon Audible, you supplement by reading to them. And then you set aside the blocks of reading that they'll do, where when they wake up in the morning, they could read for 30 minutes. Before bed, they could read for 30 minutes to an hour. And at one point in the middle of the day, you can do family reading time where you take turns reading to each other. And then the reading becomes something fun, something they look forward to. They don't get demoralized. They still learn their science and their history or whatever else they're studying, but that's being read to them through books on CD, through Amazon Audible. You're reading it to them, and they develop that love of reading, because the number one goal in early childhood reading is to establish the love of reading so that when they're 30 years old, they are willing readers who pursue their interest and learn about the world. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments or what your own experience has been with teaching your children how to read. Please like, share, subscribe, comment. That really helps me. And for anyone interested in what I do, I am the founder of the Classical Learner Homeschooling Company. We make original lesson plans, unit studies, pre-recorded courses, and live courses that I teach myself. And anyone who joins Homeschools Connected at www.classicallearner.com gets access to all of that. Thank you so much for being here, and I will see you next time.